the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, Tuesday, March 24th, 7 o'clock p.m. Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. Call meeting to order, roll call.
Stuart Krejci.
Here.
Carl Warford.
Here.
Ryan Diaz.
Here.
Chris Rappel.
Here.
Patrick Nagel.
Here.
Shane Sweet.
Okay, there's no proclamations, so anyone in the audience have any comments on something that's not on the agenda? Okay, moving forward. Department heads reports. You got something?
Just one.
Usually do.
Just for, I know Chris and Ryan both were aware, and Jerry, but Ryan Hurst was issued or given an award, the Bob Raj Award, at the Nebraska Municipal Power Pool annual conference meeting last Wednesday. And that was I nominated him for that award in recognition of his dedication to utilities in general, but in the electric world specifically. There's been a lot of things that he's been able to accomplish for our community, and creativity, working towards finding common ground. You think of all of the projects that we have taken on since him coming on board. It started with COVID, and thankful he was there to help us work through that. And then we had we've done a solar farm. We've done we're working on power plant expansion. We're working on a looping project for grid resiliency and redundancy. There's just been a number of projects that automated meter reading setup that he's gotten, and that's just on the electric side. There's a lot of other projects that he's worked on, but anyway, I felt he was worthy of consideration, so I nominated him, and he was selected to receive that award. I don't know, do either of you have any, Ryan or Chris? I know, Ryan, you were there, but anything to add, or?
I would echo your comments.
Yeah.
Very, very deserving, I think, of the award. Ryan has done a lot in his time here and dealt with, some growth and the power outage, and he's got a lot of things that he's stepped up for. He was surprised, which was fun. It makes the event even a little more special. So it's great to have a good turnout too from the city sides.
And not only an advocate for Wahoo, but an advocate for public power across the state and for utilities in general. So.
My only comment to add to that also, besides what Melissa and Ryan have already said, is that Ryan isn't waiting for something to happen. He's planning, he's thinking ahead, and he's being proactive. And those moves are making Wahoo better, making us all better. So he seems to have a lot of energy and a lot of great ideas. So we have a great future. Our utilities department has a great future.
And then the other thing is I would like to get a work session scheduled with the council to get you an update on our Building Wahoo's Future project. And so I'll be sending out an email, and I would like for a response as timely as you can, so we can get that on the books, on the calendar for everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Next item is the consent agenda. Anybody had a chance to look through that?
I saw the claims where you have, some continuing education, which is good to see. I don't remember last time I saw some expenses for the continuing education, so I'm sure you got everybody going to different places, and it's just nice to see that. Did I make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll second that motion.
Any comments? Roll call?
Krejci.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Diaz.
Yes.
Next item, public hearings. public hearing regarding the application of Class C liquor license as submitted by Salt Creek Farm and Table LLC for Ferner.
Fairnay. It's Fairnay.
Well,
Silent R.
At 521 North Broadway Street. I'll open the public hearing. You may come forward if you have any comments.
Hi everyone, my name is Jared Hiscock and my wife and I are the owners of Farinay and Ashland, who are opening up a wine bar here in Wahoo, and we could not be more excited about that venture and hoping everything goes really smoothly. Really grateful to Melissa and Christina for finding a way to sneak us on to this meeting tonight. That was really amazing of you guys. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have. I actually have an event going right now with the owner and winemaker of Grow Grain out in Walla Walla. We're doing a tasting for 32 people at our current shop, but I was like, I gotta get out here and say hi to you guys tonight and see if you have any questions for me.
Before I close the hearing, ask him his questions.
I make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call on closing the public hearing.
Rappel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then-
I don't see any reason to do anything else, right?
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, it's been motion made to approve the application. Questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
So
Thank you.
this recommendation will be forwarded on to the Liquor Control Commission, and then once they've done their final pieces, they will issue a license for you, so.
Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you guys.
Thank
you.
Can't wait to
Thank
be
you.
here more.
Thank you.
Action items not requiring a public hearing. Number one, dry run common subdivision agreement, construction reimbursement agreement.
So in your packet, you have both the subdivision agreement and the reimbursement agreement for Driver and Common subdivision, the phase that you previously just approved a couple of meetings ago. The basics of the subdivision agreement are to spell out the responsibilities of who does the designing, who's doing the construction, and we have added this reimbursement agreement or construction reimbursement agreement. We started using this piece also as well as the subdivision agreement when we negotiated with the developers of North Highlands in their first phase. And it's a piece that really dives into the details of what our expenses are going to be and the responsibilities. So we can run through this just briefly. JEO, who is the developer, will be designing and constructing all of the improvements. Those are designed to standards that we have in place and to state standards. And the construction then, once we review the plans and approve them, the construction's complete. When that construction is done, well, actually through the construction, we have someone observe construction. We verify all of the testing, and we do shop drawing review of all of the materials that are used. So again, that's a part of ensuring that that construction that's being done by a third party and paid for by a third party is done to our standards. At the end then, we have a set of documents that we collect that show, in fact, the concrete meets the strength and the water has passed and all of the things. And once that's complete, then we officially accept these infrastructure improvements into our system. For this particular project, the water main that is being constructed, or this piece of it, there is the west looping project that's going on, that's going to be building a 12-inch water main. And this project, it might be happening at the same time, or kind of in close time frame to it. the developer is paying for 8 inches of water main, we're paying for the other 4 of oversizing. So we're paying the difference between the 8 and 12. Yes, right, for this subdivision. That is done in lieu of a development fee. So any future development then is going to have a development fee that basically sort of covers that same cost, right? Between the 8 and the 12 inch, if that makes sense. On the streets, our infrastructure standards, sorry, this is not the right version that I want to have. Our infrastructure, our subdivision regulations state that the minimum width for a local street shall be 31 feet. We modified that slightly for residential development. But the existing piece of dry run drive is 36 feet. And we've had quite a number of conversations with Joe in the office and agree that in this location, continuing the 36-foot wide paving makes sense. So we will, if you are in agreement, we will be taking on the cost of that over width from the 31 to 36, and in this document, that will cost us an additional $10,000. It will cost us $10,971. We also had conversation about our standards say that the paving should be 7 inches thick. We believe that 8 inches is going to serve the city better in that location, primarily because of all of the construction activities that could be happening in that subdivision, potential civic center, potential bridge construction. Joe was pretty adamant that 8-inch thick paving be considered, and so the cost to us for that is the difference between 7-inch and 8-inch is $10,600. And then the last piece is on the south end of the existing dry run drive, there is about 35 feet of that is in bad shape. If you've driven there and looked at it, and I think that's primarily from the way it was used after it was constructed to be semi-parking. And so that cost of removing and replacing that piece of it is $8,946. So all total, it's about $30,000 that the city would be paying towards this project, provided you agree to this agreement. The water oversizing cost to the city is $19,987, and that's something that Ryan has already given his blessing on. So if there's, I guess, some other things to call to your attention, in our subdivision regulations, we do require a developer to either dedicate space for park space or provide a payment in lieu of that dedication. There is a number in there to calculate the figure per acre in our subdivision regulations, and this was something that was voluntarily put in here. Most developers, we have to argue with them and say, hey, remember, we have this in here, or hey, we need park space included. So the $13,330 is something that they would pay to us to be held for park improvements, not specifically for this area. You wouldn't likely see a park in this area, but for other park improvements. And then the cost of our review of the plans, our construction oversight this is a figure, the 1% is one that we have used in the past with other subdivisions as 1% of the total construction costs, works out to be $2,780 that they would pay to us for part of the construction management fee. It's going to cost us more than that, but that's it's kind of a line between, we want to oversee the project and we want to make sure that it's built to our standards. And then the developer's question is, well, why are you not trusting us? It's sort of a balance in this. If we knew that the constructing company was going to be someone that doesn't have a great reputation or that we have concerns about, we would likely negotiate this to be something more, because it would take more for us to ensure that the end product is gonna meet our specifications.
We don't have any choice on who's doing the actual construction though.
They have hired a contractor. No, we don't. In this case, we do not have. That's why we have the specs, that's why we have the testing, that's why we have the oversight.
Who's doing the oversight?
So Dave Hickey will be doing the oversight for us. If you go back to like Wilmer Ridge, for instance, we hired a third party in the form of Olson to come in and do construction oversight and testing, and that ended up being a good
Yeah, I
move
wouldn't
for
trouble
us.
with that. But I also thought it would be really weird for JO to be paying us, for us to be paying them to do oversight on the same project. That would have been very strange.
Yeah, this is a pretty small project, so
Dave can
it's-
handle this
Dave
himself.
can handle it, yes. And
Awesome.
So with that being said, if you have any other questions, let me know.
So it sounds like it's money well spent to oversize now and not have to come back later when traffic bears that we need to have wider streets or bigger pipes. Do it
Yeah, I
now.
would agree now, instead of tearing up later to do that.
Yes.
And how long is this strip? I'm sorry, I feel like we paid a lot more than that last time we indicated. Of course, it was a much
No, this is
longer
only-
road.
This is only one block.
Oh, it's a block, it's one block.
Yeah, if you look, this is kind of a good.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I
It's just that
couldn't
it's-
put it in my head what kind of distance that actually was.
This isn't a very good image either, because to the north is Casey's, and this strip is actually shorter than what Dry Run Drive currently is.
Okay.
It's a shorter strip.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. We did, just for your information, we did talk, this outlet here where the stormwater drainage is, which will be on the east side of the road. So I know this is backwards, but east is up. We did talk about a sidewalk along here when construction is completed on whatever's going into these lots. We've been caught in the past on not having that piece of sidewalk installed, I think, and then we have to come back in and later piece together. We had a contractor that's on site doing the residential and tied together in a couple different locations. We talked about having it constructed now while they're there, while the contractor's there, and we decided it's better to wait until the next phase of this, when the rest of the paving is done that's adjacent to this outlot. And at that time, then there will be a sidewalk installed in this location.
This is all commercial.
This is all
down
commercial.
there. The sidewalk too.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
So- well-
an ADA thing, so you still need it, otherwise you're putting everybody in the street.
If you look at the big picture, I know currently there is no crossing of Dry Run Creek at 10th Street, but the build grant application that we submitted included the bridge and a dedicated pedestrian way. So
So we're
we're getting
throw
people.
back into town to kind of get you over. So I'm just like, I don't want to see a sidewalk that takes you out to 24th Street.
Yeah, be like.
There's no place to walk. Why would people on 24th? I don't want people walking on 24th Street anymore than they already
You
do.
mean
You're going from the
15th?
ballpark up there, it would be.
Or 15th, yes, I'm
15th
sorry,
Street,
15th.
right.
Yes, 15th.
And I agree, there's no place for pedestrians on 15th Street, but if we have in our plans for there to be a pedestrian crossing, whether it is in the form of this bridge that we've applied for the grant funds for, or whether it is something smaller in the form of, we do want to have the ability for people to walk there. And so, yeah, Travis and I are on the same page. We've expressed that to the developer, and in actually this agreement, it states that the builders, whoever builds on these lots before they get their final occupancy permit will be required to install sidewalks. That'll leave a little bit here at Casey's where we'll have to kind of figure out what to do, but that's not a bridge we have to cross currently, so.
I'm a huge advocate for sidewalks, don't get me wrong, I just thought this was an interesting spot for it. There's one place in town I don't know about sidewalks, walking out to 15th Street, because there's still a lot more traffic out there, but thinking of going from Casey's back in the other way, I think it makes sense.
And keep them off 15th Street.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who walk 15th Street. So
That's why I said, I don't want any more than there already are.
All the way out there. I mean, I'd love to see 15th Street get down into the armory.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dangerous top of the hill.
Along the hill, right, that whole section right there, there's no, I've always said, there's no place for anybody from Kennedy College to the school. There is no sidewalk to connect unless you go all the way down to Chestnut and all the way out and around, otherwise you can't get there on the sidewalk without walking on the street. And that's where the school is, so we cut off half town from being able to get to the school, but that's for another time.
I guess I have a question,
Okay.
as far as with going to the 8 inch, is that something we should be looking at for commercial? Is changing our standards and commercial to be an 8 inch instead of 7 inch for future developments of
Well,
commercial? Because it does make more sense to have thicker pavement if you're gonna have higher traffic, potentially larger vehicles going in and out of there more often with like garbage trucks, delivery trucks. So
Yeah,
I mean,
think
it's
that is something that we can
to
look
have a
at.
discussion for future commercial development, so that way we're not having
Put
to
that
cover
in.
the cost of
Put
8
that
inch.
in the code.
Yeah.
Yeah, put that, change it in there, so commercial developers will have to go to 8 inch instead of 7 inch, and if we want 8, we're not paying that cost, they're paying that cost, to save us future.
Yeah, I do know
It's
when
good
you
talk.
get to a collector street in our subdivision regulations, under in the section 4.27, if you want to pull up your subdivision regulations, it does require 8 inch paving on a collector street. So this is a local street, and maybe that's where we should be looking. Instead of amending our subdivision regulations, we should be making sure that when a commercial development comes forward, that there's collector street designation. I don't know.
So, just something to think about for future,
Sure, right.
that way we can save ourselves a little bit of a headache later, might not have a developer who.
Also, just in here is a development fee for sanitary sewer, and that is based off of the formula that was used to calculate the development fee for Casey. So and that will proceed through the rest of the area that's served by that sanitary sewer main that was installed when Casey Lake constructed. Questions? It would be, I think, you can do it in one motion, I think, if you're to approve both.
It's a subdivision agreement and a construction universal agreement, that's what you mean by both.
Yes.
So I could probably just say something like motion to approve.
Second.
Motion
Four
made.
point two seven.
Section 4.27. Catch a niner in there?
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? Not, roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Item number 2, discussing regarding Kennedy campus green space for the public. This is the area south of the former dorm, now apartment complex. For those of you that are online, the developer was invited, maybe he's listening, but Mr. Sullivan was invited because it was going to be discussed tonight, but he can't be here. So, but he might be online, so.
This is
You
about the
leave
park,
this up?
not the campus.
Pardon?
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I saw our campus and I was thinking
Yeah,
the internal section, we're talking about Kennedy Park.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, do you have anything, or you want to lead off?
Sure. Do I have
Identify
to sign
yourself.
in anywhere, or?
Wherever it's,
I got your name.
Okay, I'm Mary Daly, and I just have a bunch of questions. On July 18th, there was a group of us here pointing out things in the contract. One of the things in the contract said they shall maintain the size of proper basketball court. Then there was a footnote at the bottom of the page that says, we may maintain. So I forgot your name, I know you're the attorney.
Joven.
Pardon?
Joven.
Okay, Joey, okay. So you, from what I understand, you have met with him at least 3 times since that meeting.
Potentially, that's true. I don't recall how
Okay.
many times. It's been quite a while since.
Right,
Melissa and I
okay,
sat
so
down.
even 2
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Okay, numbers don't matter. So I'm wondering, when those meetings, if you had addressed, because you said it shouldn't be a problem for him to change one word. Was it done?
We haven't had any discussions in quite a few months. I think where it was left was, he obviously had two active projects. He had the project that was directly to the north of this, which I
Right.
think has now gotten an occupancy permit and is proceeding, and then he has the downtown project.
Right.
So I'm not aware of him having approached in several months the city relative to phase 2 of the Kennedy campus. So there
Okay.
is no active discussion, there is no pending amendment to the document at this point in time.
Okay, so I was just kind of wondering, because everybody talks budget. And when I worked for the city of Lincoln and I worked for the feds, I had a thing where I had to count for every 15 minutes of my day, which sounds absurd, but that's what I had to do. And anybody that was a social worker for these agencies, that's what you had to do. And then at the end of the day, after you spent all the time with these people, you had to justify why you spent that 15 minutes with them. Okay, so being aware of budgets and time constraints and all that, I'm wondering why during those 2 meetings at some point, that one word couldn't be changed.
Well, because it would have to be as part of an overall amendment. And as it stands today, there's nothing to be amended because the
Well, his
project
wording
hasn't been
is-
greenlit
doesn't-
as of yet.
Okay, but then I'm not quite understanding, because you guys were thinking about getting back Wahoo Super. That was my understanding, and that kind of didn't come back because it was gonna go, he was gonna build it, that was the end of it. Okay, so I just don't want that to happen now. I don't want him to start something and then that's, oops, let's forgive. We can be very proactive and get it done and save our money next time we meet with him, because it would just be a small amendment, because it says shall and the footnote says may. So it's not that big of a jump
Yeah.
to do that.
The big question is, will the project happen or not? And we don't know that as of right now. There was an agreement. The agreement provisions had not been addressed and met. The city is currently the fee simple title holder to the park space, right? He doesn't have title to it,
Right.
like he did with the
With
grocery
Wahoo
store
Super.
project, right?
Okay.
So the city's in the driver's seat in deciding what it does or doesn't want to agree to going forward. And from my perspective, until he is ready to proceed with that project and we're ready to then negotiate what those terms look like, it would be premature to try to hammer out the details of an agreement that would come in front of the city council for formal approval. Which
Okay,
it will have to be formally approved as an amendment to that agreement at that time. And it may be that that's the only change, but it may be that there are other changes, particularly as it relates to dates and consequences and things that now with the passage of time, we know will have to be addressed as well.
okay. Thank you. I still have more questions. Okay, so I had coffee with Mike Collins, and Mike told me that I could go ahead and use his name. You guys were talking about one of the reasons that we need to have those 9, apartments, is because we need housing. Mike Collins told me that he proposed to the council to build a multi-family building, and you guys rejected it. So now I'm wondering, okay, so Mike offered to build one, and we rejected it, and now we're saying we need it. So, can anybody tell me why we rejected Mike's proposal for his multi-family building? Or was that?
I don't know that we have come back and said we need it.
I know that there's request for proposals in that area, and
We
there's a
got,
couple
we
that
got
were
2.
submitted.
One,
And
This
they-
must be a different process, because that was.
No, there wasn't Mike building
It was
on
Hancock.
Kennedy
Wasn't
Park.
Kennedy Park.
No,
I don't
he
recall
had
ever turning
a different
anything down.
plot of land, or
That I don't know where that-
whatever you want to
How
call it.
long ago?
And he wanted to build this multi-family living apartment, whatever you want to call it. And he said, you guys turned him down.
That must have been quite some time ago.
He didn't tell me the year because he just asked where I moved to and I told him and blah, 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 our conversation
Would
started.
that have been planned?
I've been on
Zoning?
7 years, and I will tell you, in 7 years, there's not a multifamily that we've just rejected.
Yeah,
There might have been something that didn't make it this far because it didn't fit zoning, maybe they're trying to build in a place that you can't put something like that, but
Okay,
there's never been anything that's gone this far that's been rejected since I got on.
okay. I was just going by what he told me. So I thought,
And like I
well,
said, I'm not saying it didn't happen, I'm saying it didn't happen.
Yeah, Mike's
in this
been
time.
around for a long time, so I'm sure it
Yeah.
happened, it just has been quite some time, and probably predated the housing study, which identified housing as being a major issue in the community and a reason to prioritize that to the
Okay.
community.
okay, that's good. He, and like I said, he didn't give me a lot of the details. He just said, Mary, this is what I did, and they turned me down flat, and it wasn't on any designated park space. So I was just wondering if we needed it, why was he turned down? And he did not give me the reason when I asked him, so. Then my next question is, okay, we need housing, so you guys have determined. When Hones were here at one of the meetings, and they were worried, about the zoning of that land there by the lake, they said it was also zoned for multi-family structures besides independent ones. So why couldn't something multi-county or family be built out there instead of using our park?
Are you offering?
No,
Yeah, I think-
I'm just,
I think
I
we
say
need to
everything is
develop it.
questions, and
We're
that's why
a
I don't
government
know.
agency, we don't build, other people build,
Need
right?
to
So we don't put that out, if somebody came to us and it's zoned for multifamily,
Then they
and
could.
they come to us and say, can we build multifamily there, we'd probably be.
Couldn't
that's
we
what
give
he's-
Mike that option then?
We
Hey,
don't own
we
We
it.
don't
need-
own the property.
I'm just saying, a
And it's the
suggestion
property,
then,
I
a
think you're-
suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to keep our park, we want to keep our green space, because there's constantly kids there. There truly is. When I left tonight, they were there. When, during spring break, there were kids there. There was a family with a little kid learning how to ride a bicycle there on Sunday. I mean, there's just kids there all the time. I hate to see that space go, because it's utilized. And unless you live in that area, you don't know it, you don't see it. But that's something I see every day. So I'm just saying, if somebody comes and says we need housing, well, go look over there, that's zoned for it, so you could build there.
And you're absolutely right. One of the things actually on the agenda, if you look at the last thing on the agenda, it's the annexation and plan, is there's a future land use map. And the area that you're talking about, which I think is owned by the Lindgren family, which is north of the water tower, right, inside the bypass north of the water tower, that is one of the areas I think that's delineated as being a prime area for development and multifamily, and it's zoned properly. The issue is that landowner is not marketing the property for sale, is not wanting to themselves develop, so it's gonna stay stagnant because the city doesn't control how, if a person sells it and if they develop it. The same is true on the north side of the bypass, that's owned by Norm Cavan, and Norm is farming the property and is
Yeah.
not looking to develop the property. And so, at least for the time being, unless one of those two families chooses to sell and chooses to become a developer, unfortunately, you're right, that would be a great place for development, but it's not gonna happen.
Okay, then like I said, I'm full of questions today. Okay, so another question is, when these developers come in, you say you have to have park space. Why can't you say you have to have one multi-county unit? Not an apartment, but maybe a duplex or something that provides more housing. So you stipulate about the park. Can you stipulate about one area having a multi-county unit for housing?
Fortunately, no. So the way our regulations work is a property owner or developer comes in, they say, I have a plan or proposal.
Mhm.
We have conditions within the subdivision agreement that says we can, for legitimate public purpose, require X, Y, and Z, but we can't dictate and control what they do within that space. Now, to answer your question, the other wrinkle is most of Wahoo, in the interior of Wahoo, only allows for single-family residences, doesn't allow for multifamily. And so multifamily can only go in certain places that are zoned for it. And the idea is not everybody wants an apartment complex right next to their house, right? And so a lot of Wahoo doesn't even allow for that style of multifamily housing.
I think in the larger communities, Lincoln, Omaha, Papillion, if a developer's coming in and developing a quarter section of ground, for instance, and they do have some requirements that there is 10% of that has to be commercial, or 10% of it has to be multifamily. They can't, so that there is that diversification across this large piece of land, but we don't have anything in our zoning regulations.
Okay, so is that something we can look at in the future? If we can change from 7 inches of concrete to 8 inches of concrete, is that something that you can look at in the future? I mean, I'm looking at Wahoo too. I was born and raised here. I've been here forever. I was born in the Wahoo Hospital. I worked in Wahoo forever.
I think from my perspective, there are other things that we would pursue.
But if
That would be
housing
more
is that
effective,
important,
just let me finish,
Okay.
that it would be more effective and more probably cost efficient, cost less money than, that could provide housing, such as opening up some of the second level of downtown and turning them into apartments. You have, like, for instance, the Dollar General store, all of that. But again, those are not properties we control. We can establish programs that help promote that make it attractive for a developer or a buyer, but
I think your point's a good one though, which I think we do need more apartment complexes, we need more of that. And particularly if Mike or somebody would come in and want to put it there, that's where then the city can entertain the conversation about
well, I
where
asked you
can,
that.
yeah, where can we be flexible, where can it go, how can we help you as a developer come in. The problem in a community like Wahoo is we just don't have people approaching the city very much about wanting to be a developer and wanting a project, but it would be a fantastic thing if it would come along, because it is a need, you're right. And if it could be satisfied elsewhere, to your point, then it wouldn't be as big of a need in that location or somewhere else.
Okay.
Find the developer, that's
Well,
the key.
Well, I asked Mike, I says, well, come with me to the meeting, and he says, Mary, you know how old I am. No. Then there was one more thing. A lot of you guys were there for the open house. He did a great job on the apartments. They look really nice. Did you happen to notice the parking on the street? Did you happen to notice, I took pictures.
Oh, you mean when everybody was there?
Yeah.
There was a lot of people there.
Yes. So there was parking they used the parking lot that, that is designated there.
It was mostly empty during that open house. There
Oh,
wasn't very
okay.
many people parked there.
Okay.
It was all on the street, all the spectators, everybody was walking through.
So I just wanted to know if you noticed, because I did, and I'm thinking, okay, Sunday morning church services, do you ever come, if anybody belongs to that church? They use that street for parking, for church parking.
A Frank Church?
Yes.
Forgive me, I walked through there, but I can't remember that. Don't they have
They have a parking lot behind my house.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I knew that they
That's
parked in the street too, because I
but-
walked through there.
Well, he
But-
met the parking requirements based on the size.
No, but at our one meeting that he attended that I was at, he was telling you guys that with the parking lot that's required of him, he's gonna have difficulty getting those 9 housing units in there, because you guys said you have to have enough parking for 2 cars per unit or something.
Yeah.
And so he drew it out and he said, okay, the parking is here, and then the 9 units, one's here, then 2's here, then the little basketball court in the back. And he was kind of saying that needs to be changed in order for me to do this. I mean, I heard him say that, you heard him say it. And so my concern is, if there's not enough parking, can you imagine that street? I mean, you were there, you saw how full that street
Yeah,
was.
it had a great turnout. There was
Yes,
lots of-
there was.
yeah, there was a lot of people there for that, yes.
There are several reasons why that original plan is not gonna work, so he's gonna have to come back. and start all over.
And I know the Reverend there has been, you know, telling his parishioners, please park in the back, please park in the back. But for the older adults, where the parking is in back, you have quite a bit of ways to walk from the parking lot to that back door and then up and in. So they like to park up front, according to the ladies that I have visited with. And so they're gonna need that parking to continue for those older adults, I'm assuming. So, let's see if there's anything else. I think that's it. Any questions you have for me?
No, and again, just as a general point, if it does come back, it'll have to come back to a designated agenda item in front of the council for formal approval. But right now, there is no plan for it to come back. I think it's an unknown. I don't want to speak for the developer. I get a sense at least that they're focusing on the downtown project right now and seeing, you know, before trying to tackle that one as well, which I think is a prudent thing to do, certainly. But I don't know as we stand here today if anybody knows if this is going to come back to the agenda or not at some point.
Or when.
Yeah.
And I had a great idea. That 13,000 that was designated for the park space on that new development, you could use that on the Kennedy Park. Thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thank you for your input. Number 3, resolution number 2026-07 to amend the agreement with EFA Incorporated to extend the gas supply agreement and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the necessary documents associated with the extension.
So here's what I can tell you about this. I don't know that I can fully explain financially how this all works, but in a nutshell, it is a private entity using our public tax, our tax exempt bonding authority to purchase natural gas that we receive back to us in the form of a discount. Is that a fair statement, right? We've participated in this organization since 2018, I believe. I think that's what Ryan said, 19 last?
That's what they did.
That's what it is, okay. And this is just a renewal of our commitment to that for the next, I believe, 7 years. I think it's every 7 years. This document is in your packet, and the entire process has been vetted and reviewed by our bond counsel, Mike Rogers, and last night at the Board of Public Works meeting, they recommended approval of this resolution to extend that. So in I think the 7 years, it's returned about $100,000, $90,000 to $100,000 to our natural gas ratepayers.
Questions?
And Ryan, if you can explain it.
Yeah,
It was a bond, yeah.
yeah, essentially they're using some options to allow us to hedge some pricing. And so what it does is it's provided a nice savings over the last number of years and should continue to do so. And I think it's pretty, just a standard renewal, so I don't think there's anything to dig into too deeply. And it is complex, that's why we have experts to go through it.
Experts, yes.
I looked at the number of pages there, and I thought,
Yeah.
somebody explain it to me.
What's the council's action?
I'll make the motion
To approve?
to approve.
I'll second.
Any other questions, comments? Roll call.
Rappel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Okay, number 4, approval of the audit waiver for the Wahoo Building and Grounds Association for the year ending 12/31/2025. This has been held over and.
Yeah,
ready.
and the information is finally here for your review. Again, Wahoo Public Building and Grounds is just a holding company, and it has provided us access to loans for facility improvements. This document, basically tracks the finances. The building and grounds is considered a component unit of the city, and so because of that, we have to file either an audit or this audit waiver with the state auditor's office, and so I can answer any questions you have.
We certainly don't need an audit. And my question was, is there another set of eyes that's ever looked at it? And you said, yeah,
Our auditors actually ask for the information and review it during their field work when they're here in November. So it's not, doesn't necessarily align with the fiscal year, but they review it so that they can make statements in the city's audit document that, hey, this is a component unit, we've done a brief review.
that makes me feel better.
The auditors have to look into this, building and grounds at any time when they're doing our city audit.
That's what, when they're here doing field work, they
do.
actually do a review of the
Right.
financial statement. Probably primarily, mostly to see if there's anything that looks awry or looks out of whack.
There's just not that many transactions.
No.
Yeah.
Fine, I would make a motion to approve the audit of or waiver of the audit.
I'll second.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Number 5, approval of resolution 2026-09, declaring property as surplus.
It is the Explorer for the police department. It's $175,000.
Didn't get broken.
That's a round number. It hasn't actually more than that, but.
What do they intend to do with it?
Sell it. He said it's not worth anything, honestly. He said it's junk. Chief Butler did.
That's the one that's, got a motor problem or something?
Yeah, we had a couple more.
You're not gonna sell it now, because they just heard you.
Oh no, it's great.
That's so
Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
so it's pretty good.
If you're saying it's a 17 for less than $3,000,
Yeah.
I assume there was some type of issue. I'd make a motion to declare it surplus.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Number 6, discussion regarding annexation of areas identified in the 2023 city annexation study.
So, primarily what is bringing this conversation to the table today, because this annexation study was completed in spring of 2024, there has been a parcel of property purchased by a gentleman out of Bennington that is not located, not adjacent to any parcel that's currently within city limits, but it is within the expressway loop of the city of the city. It's located on this map in parcel 1. It has a field access off of Highway 77. It's I think 3 to 5 acre parcel of property that there's conversations about potential development. Our subdivision regulations say that any parcel developed within 1,320 feet of existing utilities, water lines, sewer line, shall be attached, connected, and then annexed. We have all of the supporting information that we need here to move forward with annexing that property. It would take a little bit of a different process. We'd have to have some public hearings to move forward, since it probably would not be a voluntary annexation. And to get to that piece of property, we would need to annex farm ground, the strip, the area north of Casey's. And that's kind of what I just wanted to have a conversation, like, how do you want me to proceed? Are you interested in annexation? Do we want to start taking bigger pieces of property? Do you want to do
So somebody that bought land within the bypass but does not want it annexed? You say not voluntary.
Well, for example, when JEO developed south of Casey's, they voluntarily signed an annexation petition.
Okay.
And in that petition, they basically waived the need for us to have public hearings and all of those pieces. I don't think that we're going to get that from this individual.
Okay.
We have not had conversations about annexation. Ryan has had conversations with them about extending utilities or what their utility needs are and requiring their connection to our city infrastructure.
We've annexed in the past due to utilities, correct?
Pardon me?
We've annexed in the past due to utilities, connecting with utilities.
Yeah, as part of that connection.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
even kind of that direction, you know, with.
Right, the NRD wanted
Right.
the connection.
Is it not required that we annex in order to connect with our utilities? Don't they have to, is it not required that
It's
they?
kind of a chicken and egg kind of a thing, right?
Okay.
I guess, I fully believe that it should be annexed. My question to you is, how far do you want us to take this? What pieces do you want to proceed with? Are you comfortable with everything in area
I was
one?
gonna
You want
say,
to break
would
it
it make
apart?
sense
Do
if we're
you?
gonna do it to just take all of box one? Again, to me, part of that is conversation with property owners before development, right? Because it's,
We should, let them know.
like, I'd like to
What-
know
what's
what
the
their
downside?
opinions are. I would love to have the public hearings and actually hear what opinions are, but to me, whether it's done now or, years from now, I feel like that's all going to get done eventually.
I think it really needs to be done.
The reality is,
It needs to.
it's gonna,
I think there's.
The issue is that the property owner that owns this, about to halfway, is the one we litigated against.
So those are two different owners in
Yeah,
number one.
on the
Yeah,
north
there's-
end of that
there's-
bend,
One,
we've had
two,
litigation.
there's probably,
I don't
it's,
know where to-
Yeah.
He's through about it.
in piece one, there's probably 7 or 8 property owners.
If you want, I can pull up a few words.
Yeah, the problem is this one, there's about 4 different property owners, but it's all owned by the same family, just in different entities.
Okay.
So everything basically from here up is that there's a property owner that sails in the middle there, and then there's an absentee owner that owns all of this. And when we were doing that loop project, we gained approvals from this property owner, but this property owner from here over fought us through the condemnation. And that resulted, instead of taking the loop all the way around, Brian decided it ended up being cheaper to take it down and then go up Hackberry Street there. And so we don't have the loop here, the loop comes down, over, and up because of that property owner.
Yeah, I think.
It goes
that-
up Hackberry,
It
so
goes
you're
up-
pointing
yeah.
Chestnut.
Oh, sorry, but Hackberry, yes.
So it just runs up Hackberry.
Yes.
Right.
And I didn't mean this part of the loop, I meant everywhere here to about halfway. From
Okay.
Hackberry down to about halfway, that property.
Can you point out here in zone one, the property you're talking about, like which
Sure.
part of that?
Can you pull up G-Works? You have a keyboard. Oh, yeah. It's turned
Now
on.
it's teamwork.
So what would be the downsides to annexing a piece of property? In my opinion, I think you are improving the value of a piece of property if
City
you are
taxes.
annexed.
I was gonna say, that's my thought, is if
Okay.
you're annexing early, we're paying city
But
taxes.
if you're
now.
ag ground, you're still ag ground. Whatever you're zoning, that's not being
It's
changed.
valued in ag ground, but you're still taxed on the city side,
Can I just,
Okay.
right? And so you're still.
But if we have a green belt,
It's
that's not gonna amount to much.
not gonna be a huge tax bill, right? And I'm speculating, but I wouldn't anticipate a fight with this property owner right here. That's the absentee owner, really,
Yeah.
right here.
yeah, this, so I'll back out a little bit. This parcel from here, which this is 23rd, all of this is owned by one person.
Yeah.
The parcel that we're talking about is this parcel here that was sold.
Yeah, that was owned by the same person who owns all of this and then who we fought in the past.
Right.
Yeah, I truly would love to give the owners a forum and express their thoughts.
Oh, you're
So-
farther north, that's my problem.
Yeah, so this is the bridge over Dry Run. The farm access is right here. And they are intending to develop this parcel of property.
Is that a cutout for an entry?
No,
At one time, I think Travis said the property owner didn't even have access to his property.
Well,
Correct,
yeah.
I believe this little piece in here is state highway
Yeah.
right of way. This field access, which when the expressway was built, they had to provide field access to every parcel of property. And so this was carved out by the property owner so that there would be field access gained. This property then was sold, formerly owned by this property,
That was sold.
this was all sold. This is one property owner, this is another property owner. So
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
I keep getting lost.
Yeah.
Didn't go far enough to find Casey's and my
Gotcha.
cat just got lost.
Casey's.
Casey's
There's
is right
Casey's,
here.
okay, so I was too far south to be, okay, I'm picking it up now.
So currently, there is a sewer line that runs up here and runs up to the school. So, and water is going, I think there's redundancy going here.
And that's the loop that we were trying to
Yes.
create. that you
We
said
were trying to go
avoid,
inside
but
the
around that
bypass.
outside because that property owner just
Yeah.
didn't want, we didn't want
Yeah.
to pay a metal.
We didn't want to keep fighting it.
Like,
And it ended up being cheaper just to connect to Hackberry and go up.
I think in the discussion about annexation overall, we need to keep in mind the rules that apply when annexing that are different for second-class cities than they are for first-class cities. When you annex as a city of the second class, you have to prepare a plan for how you're going to extend all of the city services. When you're a city of the first class, you actually have to extend and put dates and commit resources to making that happen. So that is something to consider as we're talking about not just this area, but all of the areas that we have.
What do we know about the biggest box that it's, so we have, if we wanted to take that piece that's being, if we wanted to annex the piece of property that's requesting public utilities.
We would have to annex this
We
parcel.
have to, I was
Or
gonna say, so what do
some
we have
piece
any
of it,
idea
right.
what their thought is in that?
Well, we didn't have a problem negotiating the easements with them on the loop project. They have a farm for a property manager that assists them, the family isn't local.
Okay.
So my speculation is we wouldn't see significant resistance from them. I think the question is, do we want to go north of there, continue on north of there and just close everything inside the bypass? I think that the aggressive strategy would either do that. The non-aggressive strategy would be to pick the ones that we can either get petitions from and or we don't anticipate resistance.
Well, as the town is growing, I mean, anything inside the loop probably should be annexed. That's number one and number 7.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So if you annex it, that doesn't mean he has to develop it.
No, not good.
No.
So what are you gaining by annexing it? If he doesn't have to develop it? Because you're thinking you want growth to that area, and if you annex it, what are you, unless he says he's willing to develop it, you're not gaining anything. Are you?
The one little one wants to develop.
Yeah,
Everyone
this
wants to
parcel,
develop.
they
Yeah,
do
it's
want
part
to
of it.
develop, yes.
Do we know what he wants to develop there, or?
It's where we're putting infrastructure is the big thing, right? It's typically you put infrastructure, whether it be utilities or otherwise, within your corporate limits is where you're putting your infrastructure. And so if you're going to be adding infrastructure outside the city limits, typically you would annex the areas that you're adding that infrastructure before you put the new infrastructure.
I would think that the area that was resistant prior would almost welcome utilities through that for future development.
And that's the
Well,
conversation we
I
had.
should
Not
say-
one way.
You
One
think
was just
that-
very anti-city is the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, even though it would have benefited the property.
it would have benefited the property, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
And I think You know, I guess it boils down to, do you want to fight or do you, not want to fight?
Or do you
Because
like it?
I think,
I think eventually,
Yeah.
it's gonna be,
I think eventually we all know it's gonna all be there. So on Chestnut, where, is everything to the highway?
it stops, sorry, I should turn this parcel layers back on. Parcels, there we go. Turn this back on. I believe it stops here.
I
So-
believe so.
So I mean, on the one hand, you could say, why don't we just stop it where the development's gonna stop for now? It's not like we have, or do we take everything? You know, do we just complete the whole
I think it's like,
expressway within the expressway piece?
Sorry, one second. I'd say that the only thing I would say is we do strengthen our argument if we do a piecemeal. Because then we have, if the areas that are not directly adjacent to the city limits and are agricultural use, that's a harder argument for us to make, right? Whereas if we expand the annexation based on a petition of a property owner and the non-resistance of the other one, now we have adjacency to those other areas, right? For the next time we go through annexation, and whether it's a year from now or whatever it is. And a stronger argument as to qualifying for annexation.
I guess, I'm a chicken, I'm a path of least resistance. If we can take that one piece and get the one that wants utilities now, I'm also of the page that I don't know that I see an advantage of taking the rest of it now, other than saying, well, we only have to do it once. But realistically, I don't see that there's enough advantage in that to want to say, grab everything. If and when it's time, then we go get the rest of it.
No, I do think there's some prudence to keeping in mind when we might make that transition to, from city second class.
Yeah, it may be a year from now instead of 5 years from now.
Yes.
The second phase of the annexation would happen.
Right.
But to get that one that wants to develop, wouldn't you have to, in essence, get the
Come from the south.
big one that's next to it?
That's what we're
Because
doing.
otherwise,
Right.
From the
If
south.
we
But that one doesn't seem that there
Yeah,
would be
I'm not saying.
resistance.
so then, like you're saying, that gets us touching those other properties that don't want to, and if we want to eventually continue annexing, it makes a little more sense to.
That's what, Joe, you mentioned this, that it makes more sense to go piecemeal?
Yeah, I think, to my personal
Set the-
opinion, is if we can get this property owner who wants it to sign a petition and reach out to the farm manager to get them to sign off on the same petition, so it's the expedited voluntary process,
To do
then
it?
do that.
Yeah.
And then, whether 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever you want to do, then we can proceed with the other areas.
Good, yeah, do the easy one. I would love to have, we're assuming some ideas from existing landowners that may or may not want it, and I don't want to live with assumptions. I think you piecemeal with the path of least resistance and have discussions with other owners if they want to do it peacefully or not, at least we know where they stand. To me, it sounds like it's a benefit of the properties that you want to do it.
Agreed.
So, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I'm understanding. So we
Don't
know
touch it.
about this little, call it Illinois looking piece, and then all the way up to the corner is all owned by the same person now, or is this corner?
Except for the little triangle at the corner, yeah, those two, yeah.
Okay,
this,
so what do we
Parcel
know
is
about
owned by
that?
one.
Not that I want to get it right now, but what do we
At
know
one
about
point,
that?
they wanted to develop that as well, we wanted the utilities and the infrastructure, that sort of thing. So a person certainly, they wanted to go and get as much within the bypass, could include that within the same petition, and effectively surround them.
so this parcel, sorry, it's not, this parcel, this parcel, these are owned, this is a separate owner, this is West Limited, and then this parcel is,
Wow. 3 different parcels.
yeah, this, Brian Taylor Ross, this 3 acres here.
Okay.
And this is owned by someone separate. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is West Limited. No, it's not. It's owned by,
It's the same family, it's a different LLC, different child.
gotcha, okay. This parcel here is the one that's, this Jacob vendor. And then this is the other parcel, which is Piper.
So right now, Piper ground,
There's a-
adjacent to the elementary school is already annexed, is that correct? If I'm reading
That's
that.
what I was trying to get, I think
No, this
No.
ground,
it stops at the Hackberry.
it stops at Hackberry.
Okay, so that's, none of that was with.
Yeah, it stops at Hackberry, then it goes over up to the water tower over, so this is also not in the city limits.
Okay.
Right now, and I would think that
Yeah,
eventually,
that definitely needs, but like you
Needs
said,
to be,
right next to
yeah.
the development, probably should be too. But again, is that farmhouse, that's obviously not even right.
No,
yeah, that's
Okay.
not.
not as.
So, okay. So again, all of that, we all know that it's gonna be done, and maybe like you said, there's an advantage to doing it before the next census. But, right now, I would be.
For today,
Yeah, for today, I would be more in favor of, hey, if we can get this done and people are, that's what they want to do, that makes, or at least are willing to do.
So how does that work on that property since they're on the other side of the highway also?
Better before
Okay,
we
there's-
get to split class?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You click that,
Yeah, it's
Highway
just a
close,
weird
yeah.
click. It's-
Definitely would be.
no,
Currently, no, it's not a weird click. Currently, it's considered one parcel.
it's all one parcel across the highway.
Right,
Oh.
the,
I thought
the,
How would that be split for tax purposes?
yeah, it would split it.
Yeah, and that's what we did when we expanded Chestnut out, they had this, the assessor had to create a new tax parcel for where the dividing line is.
Yeah, so if you go up here, this is the dividing line. This parcel is in city limits. This parcel is not, but it's all one property.
It's all in,
Yeah.
it's also when the state put the highway there, it split that that parcel into two parcels already.
Yeah.
And that's what's caused that issue.
Well, no, this
No, but
parcel.
I'm saying
Yeah.
the reason
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
because you click on the other one, it's actually
Yeah.
three parcels because they got the corner on the other
Yeah.
side of the highway also.
40 years ago, it was one 80
One
track,
paved.
yeah.
Parcel and then the highway
Yeah.
split it and then we did our stuff.
Okay, so I'm hearing from you then, the direction you'd like us to pursue is simply these two parcels. This one and this one.
And I would think, it doesn't have to be at the same time, but I would think that a discussion with Lindgren and Yelnick might make sense too, on the east side of Hackberry, north side of the school there. Because that might be able to be voluntary sooner rather than later. Yeah, this tract and this tract.
As long as, if
I
they're.
think that one might,
We can get ahead of it.
if we start having that conversation, right?
That might be a good time.
There is one other, while we're here, one other annexation issue that we need to clean up. On North Elm Street, you see this cul-de-sac. And we authorized breaking up this parcel and combining these lots. This currently is not within city limits, and so I think that's, with it being, with this cul-de-sac being here, this lot broken off, this is something we need to address, so that'll probably be coming before you as well.
But then also the part that's right there, that one, is that city now? That's it?
That is in city limits
Okay.
for whatever reason.
I guess not.
Yeah, I think this must, I don't know, this line must be some sort of quarter section or some sort of line, and I think that was the line of annexation a long time ago. Before they did annexation maps, they just did it. Sorry. Okay. Any other questions for me on this?
Then you can spot annex.
Well, yeah, you can, but one of the things that, but typically you only want to do it with petition. You don't want to do it involuntarily, because
Yeah,
you jumping a property arguably would give rise to a defense as to annexation, right?
I think it's also, we had in this annexation study, each one of these parcels that were identified were given a score if you remember
Right.
that, based off of
Number one, is that one
criteria.
that we're like, yeah, that needs to be
And
fixed.
the
I think this
overall
was in the top three,
scoring,
too.
this was a 30, yeah, right. This is area 1,
One.
so 31. And there's only, what is there? There's only one that is.
That was a right 17 score that was.
Can you scroll, I want to see what 3 is at.
3 is right here, south of Casey's, which we're already.
Which, yeah,
Yeah, the one that surprised me, 7 scored the second highest. I would have thought,
Where's 7? Oh,
we
here.
were just talking, that whole area back behind there. I would have thought there'd be national constructability issues, but
I'm still not really understanding the pros or the cons to annexing. If the difference is just really some little tax base that it would go up, even on farm ground?
In terms of the cons,
Yeah. Because if it's farm ground, I don't know if it'd have that much difference. I'd love to see the difference.
yeah.
It would definitely help when you go to, if the intention and likely is to develop that area, right? It helps. But I guess I look at like the farmhouse that's sitting there.
Yeah. That could be.
Not as many benefits for them,
That could be a little bit.
because then you're talking about property tax, a
Exactly.
significant change in
Once it's
property
improved.
tax.
but I also think applying the same argument that we had when we annexed Country Club Acres and all those, they call Wahoo their home. They receive the benefits currently of living in Wahoo.
Yeah, if that house that sits over there that's not in city limits, called 911 right now, I'd have a hard time,
You guys know?
believing that it's not city police that goes over there, right? I mean, technically, that's not city, so that should be county, but that's who they're gonna send, that's who, so, obviously, the city plows are running up and down that street to get to the highway, so they can still get all the benefits. Yeah, it makes sense.
Well, the good thing here is 1 and 7 is what we're talking about, right, at least in part. And so we have this study to point to as to the grounds and the reasons from the city.
I think you also have the sale price of these parcels that have sold that. I'm not an attorney, but clearly support the argument that it is suburban and urban in character. It's on paved streets, it's right, there's a lot of arguments to support in favor of annexation. Okay, thank you. Unless you have more conversation you want to have on it.
Okay, number 7, discussion on possible action regarding change of publication for public notices.
When we reorganized the council back in December, I brought up potentially utilizing a different publication for our public notices and things along that line. And I'd like to bring that up again, mostly because recently we've had 2 pretty significant timelines that have come up. And I would like for us to be able to at least publish the public hearing notices in a publication that's not the Wahoo newspaper. The example that I'm going to use is we had a conditional use permit come into Travis March 13th at noon. My deadline to publish for the following Friday is before noon, so March 13th was a Friday. I missed the deadline for the March 20th publication of the newspaper, which meant that the next option would be March 27th. Publications have to be in the newspaper 7 to 10 days before the meeting. The next planning commission meeting was on April 2nd, which meant publishing on March 27th would not reach that guideline. Because of those publication deadlines that the Wahoo newspaper has, that conditional use permit can now not be heard at the planning commission level until May 7th. That's 56 days from the date of application just to go in front of planning commission. And then we would have to do another publication for it to come in front of you all. So that would be an additional 39 days.
That's excessive.
Oh, so you
Wow.
Sorry, I misspoke. That would take it from 56 days to 67 days. The 39 days was the example that I had for the other issue that we ran across with our extended meeting time, having that additional 5th Tuesday in there. If someone came into my office March 6th, the earliest that we would have been able to have a public hearing for them is April 14th, which is 39 days. It slows things down significantly, and when we're trying to be supportive of businesses coming in, like the new wine bar that's opening up, I feel like the newspaper itself is being a hindrance to us showing that we are supportive. And the public at large, or the individuals who are making these requests, don't always see it as the newspaper's problem. They see it as, can see it as a resistance on our behalf. And I would like to help to try to alleviate that. I think publishing in the newspaper for the minutes still makes plenty of sense. We can still get those in weekly, but when it comes to public hearings, the Lincoln newspaper needs 1 day's notice. The Omaha newspaper needs 2. So,
They publish every day,
and
so.
they publish, well, they will no longer be publishing on Mondays. But, if,
Instead of a week notice for a weekly paper.
exactly. I have to get it to them before noon, and I anticipate with their new, I don't know if you heard, but they're going to be printing it in Des Moines now, no longer in Omaha. So it hasn't affected publication dates yet, but I am sure that it will.
How do we decide which direction to go? The Lincoln paper, or the Omaha paper, then? What's the best way to decide that?
Financially speaking, they cost the same. I've done comparative.
Because they're both,
Well, by leading forces.
Here's the benefit, because it's state law, am I wrong?
I
And we don't do it because we really expect people to catch it, we do it because the state says we have
And they're
to.
both papers of general
So general
circulation.
circulation, so
Fremont Tribune's another option too.
can we just open it up to say any of them? And is it possible for us to just change our regulations, like, I don't care, you choose, whatever you want?
Well,
I think there
is
should
there a
be
matter of consistency?
Okay, that's fair. That's
So
fair.
I-
So people know where, if they.
I think if somebody does know that it's in the Lincoln paper, they'll know to look there.
That's fair.
So, and if that's the quickest turnaround too, and they're the same cost,
Right.
then that's where my mind would go.
Yeah, if I can get it to them by 8 a.m. today, then it'll be in tomorrow's issue.
And I mean, honestly,
Or
we
we are
are,
probably the most read paper in Wahoo. That's the other one, is
The whole purpose is give notice to the public.
Yes.
And if we get it in any paper, or 6 of them or none of them, people would still probably go to the website. If we could, can we put that on our website?
Yes, we established a place on our website specifically for public notices. It's getting put into my routine to post them there. They're also posted publicly in the same places that we post our agendas.
Okay.
So,
To me, that's more important.
it's a checkbox for.
they still need to be in the.
They still have to be in the paper
They
somewhere.
have to
Yeah.
legally be published.
back to Carl's point, it's in the paper because we have to.
Yeah.
I
Totally.
think the website or whatever is gonna be more work.
Yeah, it's more customer beneficial, but we don't have to do it, but we should.
And I don't know exactly when that number is gonna roll around. Sometime here in the near future, the newspaper is going to have to publish what their readership is, and I'll bet that it is insignificant.
It's pretty small.
Mary, do you have a?
Yeah, how are you gonna let people in Wahoo know what paper? Because if there's one thing I learned by walking around and getting signatures about the Kennedy Park, they didn't even know that there's a website for the council. They didn't even know that you can look at the meetings or view the meetings. So how are you gonna get it out to the general public that, okay, we're gonna have a hearing, but you have to find it in the Lincoln paper? I mean, how are you gonna know that?
Are those same people reading the Wahoo paper?
I don't know. But I mean, you gotta let them know something. I mean, you've always gone to the Wahoo paper to look for hearings.
And we'll put
I
that in
mean,
the paper,
that's-
that we're gonna advertise, it. We're gonna publish in the Lincoln paper as well,
We could
Where are you
run-
gonna put it though, so people actually
the
know?
public notices.
Same place they would go
Same
to the
place.
public hearing.
We could do that for one or for a couple of publications.
Yeah.
Say, effective this date, we will.
Otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't know to go to the Lincoln paper.
Right.
Future future notices will be.
Future publications.
But Mary, to be fair, the people you were talking to didn't know they could go to the Wahoo paper.
What?
The
I'm
people
sorry?
you were talking to didn't know they could go to the Wahoo paper and find it either, because they
Well-
didn't know about it.
Yeah, there were some people that did and some people that didn't, but there, in honesty, it was really never put in the Wahoo paper about the Wahoo Park, or Kennedy Park.
Well, there would have been a public hearing it legally.
Well, I mean,
Have to
like-
publish it.
So you would notice it, so you would look for the hearings. Like, there used to be articles like, okay,
Well, this isn't.
I don't even know.
Yeah. But
But
to your
here-
point,
Yeah, they're
journalists
not
don't come
running
down here and write those articles.
It used to be.
We used to get it.
Yeah, that's
We
what
had
I
a
mean.
newspaper, we had a journalist at a meeting for a long time.
We used to have that, that's what I'm saying. There would be an alert, this is what's going on, so then you would go to look for, you know, the public hearing, so you would know about it. We don't have that media, I don't know how to do it, except for, I guess, I'll maybe do Facebook and say, hey, if you're looking to know if there's a public hearing, go to the Lincoln paper, as soon as I know which paper you're gonna use. Just to bring it to people's attention, I guess.
We could put it on our Facebook page, we can put it on our website.
I think that
stuff
would be
is on our
great.
website anyway.
I think that would be great, because then the more it's out there, the more people know, the more they feel informed and they don't feel so alienated.
Are you talking about not doing the Wahoo paper at all, or doing some Wahoo paper, some Lincoln paper?
Well, like,
Still doing the
I
minutes.
don't know.
Minutes?
We can, whatever your preference is.
I don't
I
know what
think
it
the
is, but-
argument,
If you gotta go 3 times the Wahoo paper, go once in Wahoo, once in Lincoln. Can you do that?
I don't know.
I think
for those off the
consistency is
top of
more
my head.
important than anything.
So for these types of public hearings, we only have to publish the once. There are other types of public hearings where you, like, for bids, where they have to be published multiple weeks in a row. But I think that we would wanna maintain those in the same area.
Those, for instance, when we publish for bidding, they're typically published 3 times. I don't have a problem with them continuing to be in the Wahoo newspaper. Those are also shared then on the Nebraska Press Association's website, so people could go and search bids for Wahoo. And in that instance, nearly all of the bids are received because people search at bid houses, at plan houses, right? Or the engineer has directly reached out to contractors that are interested in providing a bid. So again, bidding is just checking a box.
I was gonna say, you don't think the contractors are all sitting around buying up all the local papers trying to find things?
I mean, but I hate to make a decision in a vacuum. And we don't have a set time frame. Is this something worth doing a survey or something like that? Ask the public, what do you read? How do you get your information? What sources do you want to get this from?
Maybe there's a bigger question that's less about where do we post our, legally post our
Yeah.
notices? Where do you want to see,
Yeah, what do you want?
where do you want to see us post our notices so you can be better aware?
I would be shocked if we saw anything other than I get all my information online, or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah.
I know.
I would love to see the notices in the Lincoln Journal, so if one person said that, it would check it, right?
I mean, you might have a newspaper demographic that would still be okay with that, and maybe have a preference to a hard copy, but it'd be small.
Yes.
So how do we move forward today?
I think if we can, if there, what do we have to do to change regulations, so at least those public notices that need to go out, so that we're not dragging people out for
Yeah.
6 weeks
90
before they
days.
get in, I would love to be able to just say, yep, let's start moving that
Yes.
to the
To
Journal
change
Star,
that
let's-
timetable.
Yeah, if we can put a
To
notification out on our
to
website, on
relay.
Facebook, that just says, hey, these notices are now gonna be in the Journal Star instead of the Wahoo paper, so that the general public is aware where to find it if that's what they want.
Because
I guess-
also, on like a conditional use permit or rezoning, there is a physical sign that's posted at the property as well. It's white with black letters, and it's physically posted at the location.
And I mean, if you're gonna start publishing those on our website, I feel like that's the best place for information.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
would
tell
agree.
anybody, I mean, all that stuff's gonna be
But
available. on
they
the
don't
website.
do that all the time according to Holmes, because
It just
Holmes
says
said there was
start
never that sign
That's
posted.
because the change in zoning at their property was done as a blanket rezoning map for the entire city. A new zoning map for the entire community was adopted when that rezoning was done there.
So then the signs don't always go up.
If any single parcel or small collection of parcels is being rezoned, there will be a sign at the physical location.
The other thing, just to keep in mind, and we've had conversations about this in the office, is that this does not trump the process that we have spelled out in our regulations. Like, for instance, we have a window that says if you're applying for rezoning, you have to submit your application X number of days before the public hearing, so that staff has time to do the review, we have time to get the information together. So we will need, in the past, we sort of leaned on the newspaper publication to say, well, this is,
We have to
we have to have it right.
Yeah, we still can't submit on Friday and expect it to be on Tuesday's meeting, just because we can get it published.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
No, I would just like to avoid a month-long wait for individuals.
I think the reality is because of statutes and processes that need to be there, our process is just inherently takes longer than most. So anything we can do to help speed that up, I think is important for us to look at.
Yeah, we're slow enough, we don't need this newspaper slowing us down anymore.
So just to try to close the circle on it, are you talking just public hearings, not minutes, that sort of thing, or is the council wanting to move everything over to the different paper of general circulation?
To Stuart's point, I think the rest of it right now, that would be open to public opinion. I don't have an opinion either way. I used to be very adamant that we support our local paper.
It's not local.
If I'm being honest, I don't feel like our local paper is very local and having our name on it anymore.
So do we need to delay the process by, I mean, I think there's maybe merit to public opinion on where do you want to see information posted about city items. But for this, can't we just?
Yeah, this, I feel like for this, we just need to do it.
If you would like, I can put together some sort of survey that we could post on our Facebook, and I don't know, see if there's a second alternative way of getting those kinds of results for the rest of it, and then just.
I think that's a secondary use, just to.
While I agree that those online surveys are always the best way to get a lot of results, you're still getting results from the section of people that use it.
That use it.
So, if you ask the people on Facebook where they get their news, they're gonna tell you Facebook.
Right.
Because I don't have it, I got on Facebook a long time ago, maybe 8 people, so I don't have, so that's just not a place I would want to see it. But the city's website is where I would go if I'm looking for anything, so.
I think an online option is key.
I feel like, for this piece of it though, do we have the ability to take action, or just as discussion, do we need to take action to change it?
Yes, you would pass a resolution to change the paper of general circulation for at least public hearings to X.
Can we do
whatever
that
it is.
today, or is that something that's?
We can start the action.
Bring a resolution.
Oh, it does say possible action, I didn't say that, possible action. I would make a motion to submit such action or resolution to change it to the Lincoln Journal Star for public notices or whatever is time sensitive right now, and we'll deal with the rest of it.
With the minutes staying in.
Yeah, everything else can stay put, but just those public notices that need to go out.
I would second that.
And then I would ask that again, that be posted into our website and Facebook, whatever, just so that there's an intention, these types of notices are gonna get moved.
Is this a resolution or an ordinance or what?
Resolution.
Okay. I mean, because you could let this be have a 1 or 2 readings even in a meeting, a couple of meetings of people, the public hear about. An ordinance, you could let it go the whole 3. You wouldn't have to, but whatever works.
And just so that I understand, it would be a resolution allowing public notices to be published in the Lincoln Journal Star.
Public hearing.
Public hearing notices, not notices, public hearing. That's what it is.
That's a good start. Anybody think about
Yeah, I
that?
think we should.
Yeah, I think eventually,
I think we should
I would like
to-
to do more, but for
To
now.
adjusting as required.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Yeah,
I'll-
do you want to specify a publication, or can you say a publication for the
I think that we would want to define which one now, and then we can work on refining that after we get some sort of
Okay.
community engagement.
Yeah, because I'd like to see, to make sure that Journal Star is read enough, because if we find that the World Herald has double the readership on Wahoo, it'd make more sense to move to that one if need be. for good, let's leave it here and we can have that further discussion after we get some
Yeah.
other information.
Yeah.
It's easy to change to something else.
There's a motion and a second, right, for the resolution?
Yes.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any further comments unless you've got some questions. Council? Nothing? Okay, I'll declare the meeting adjourned.
Hold on, I'm good.